Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Thanks for checking in. Mitch Moss, Pauly Howard, live downtown Vegas, Circa Resort Casino. Busy hour coming up. Paul Charchian on the program in 30 minutes. He's going to give out a future bet that he likes in the NFL that pays triple digits. And he's going to have great analysis on why he likes it. Here, we begin as Mr. Las Vegas advisor Anthony Curtis joins us in studio. LasVegasAdvisor.com is the website. Been doing this for many, many years. Good to see you again, pal. How are you?
Good to be here. Good air conditioning in here. Excellent.
Yeah, it's going to warm up this week here in Las Vegas.
Ooh, it's hot right now, man. I drove over here. It's hot right now.
Does this happen every year, by the way, this time? Because it is a down time, right? Tourism, obviously, we get to more than 40 million people coming through the gates every single year, but the summer months, not exactly peak season. 34 casinos right now with base rates of $50 or below compared to 28 of last year.
Yeah, it's funny. I thought you were asking me if it gets hot every year. I was like, yeah, Mitch, how long you been here? You go, does this happen every year? Yeah, in July it does.
Yeah,
but well, it does. You know, the downtimes in Vegas are July because people are taking vacations in other places and it's so hot here. In December because of Christmas and people are saving money and whatever. So you always see this, but not like we're seeing it this year. And it has a lot to do with a couple of things. One is, you know, uncertainty about economic conditions because of tariffs and things like that. Whichever side of it you're on, you know, there's still uncertainty. And the gouge. I mean, the gouge has been just hyper enforced recently. You know, more and more and more. Take. You know, parking fees, resort fees, bad games. You know, side checks. You know, it's been crazy, and people are just getting tired of it. We're just hearing it right and left.
Okay.
The drink prices, for example.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it's not even you can't even really go out anymore.
Well, you keep hearing all these, you know, these rogue things about the $24 Fiji water. At Aria from the minibar. But anytime you go out, you know, you go get a beer on the strip, you get out for $12. That's rare. I mean, you're paying $13, $14, $15 for a beer on the strip. And people are they've had it. And then they get their check and they see, you know, an imposed service fee and an imposed this and an imposed that, you know, and just an extra tax. And they've just had enough. They're not really taxed. They're fees that are going to the casino or the establishment. And people they're truly getting tired of it.
Yeah, there was going to be a breaking point, and maybe this is it, huh?
I think that we're on the precipice of it. And I think enough people are, you know, you start reading blogs about people commenting on their trip. One guy wrote in one blog, he goes, I felt like I was getting mugged from the minute I got off the plane.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they just don't like it.
Sure.
Now, why does that happen to them? That happens to them because they watch TV or they read a magazine and they see the strip. So they got to go to the strip. Well, you don't have to go to the strip. You can come downtown, right? You can go to the locals joints. You can go to a lot of different places in Vegas where the competition factor keeps things low and still good. I can still tell you where to get a $1 beer. You know, I can tell you where to get a $2 shrimp cocktail. I can tell you where to get a $9.99 steak. You know, but they don't want to do that. They want to go on the strip and then they want to complain about it. Well, you know, get off the strip if that's and force them to do something. You know, vote with your feet, like they say.
I moved here in 2000. I remember a long time it was always free to valet, just tip. Yeah. And now it's $45 to valet. I mean, that's the other thing
and
too,
tip.
where it's like, that's right.
Yeah.
That's the other one where they're carried away with that too.
And you know, people are tipping less, so that's worse for the employees. You know, they screw around with the whole ecosystem, and people just get to the point where they go, I don't want to do it anymore. And all of a sudden, that place, the city away in your own state, doesn't look so bad anymore because they're not doing that out there to the same degree, at least.
The other one too, if I'm going to give you action and I'm going to give you good play, I want the rewards, I want the perks, I want the comps, right? But I also want it to make it easy. It shouldn't be difficult or a homework assignment. That was, you know, day one when I moved here. It was, hey, Anthony's okay. Yeah, Anthony wants to go to the cafe. Give him $50 comp, write it up, whatever.
Right.
I can't believe what happened at Resorts World with the strawberry banana smoothie incident, where a guy's paying $25,000 a hand, and they're unsure about, I don't know if I can comp your friend, even though that's his favorite drink. I have to ask and make sure I can comp you your banana smoothie, even though you're playing. This is outrageous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, now look, this is a frontline employee doing a stupid thing. You know, I'm pretty sure that if you went up the line, the next person or the person after that would have said, "What are you talking about? Give him the whole banana." You know what I mean? I mean, whatever it
Is he
takes.
afraid to get in trouble?
He just.
I mean, this is.
But that's the thing, though, right? That there should be like a trickle-down effect here from management to all their dealers and all their employees where they automatically know, of course, what do you want? Yeah, we're going to comp that, no problem.
Well, there's a problem with that. You know, we get complaints a lot about this happened here and this happened there. And we go, you know, we were there last week and it was fantastic. It's all about who is serving you, who is dealing to you, who's making the decision in the pit. And if these frontline employees, I agree, they're not schooled well enough. You know, you should bring, I'm sure they will. I'm sure Resorts World after that will bring everybody together and say, don't ever let this happen again. Because, I mean, Resorts World is one of them. That is one of the casinos, one of them. You know, is one of the casinos, like the aliens that we're fighting against. Is one of the casinos that's trying to go against us a little bit. You know, first they said, okay, no more paid parking for the rest of the summer. And then 2 weeks later, they said no more resort fee for the rest of the summer. This is both at Resorts World. And other places are doing it to a degree, like in packages and things. But I think this is just, for this Resorts World incident, I think this is just the person on the front line didn't think or wasn't paying attention or just wasn't clued in enough. And I doubt that's the protocol there. Now,
I will use them as an example here. I like Resorts World. I think they have, like, for example, a ton of amazing restaurants, right? Good people watching as well. I think it was a very busy weekend here in town in recent months. My wife and I went there on a Friday night for dinner, prime time, right? The place was a ghost town. Mm-hmm. I could not, like, what? We were there for 3 hours probably, walked through it. I, walked around at dinner to go to the bathroom, which was like 100 yards away, paid attention there. On the way back, like nothing.
Yeah, them and Fontainebleau. You know, both of them, the two big giant ones that just came in, lately. They're having trouble because of what the Strip is doing in general. Wow. The locals don't want to go there at all. Yeah. You go back, you think about George Maloof, and when he built the Palms, he was like, I got to have the locals. Yeah. Got to have them. He goes, he was courting L.A. like crazy. Real World and all this stuff. And he, it was all about the stars that were there.
Britney Spears was a regular.
Half of the place was for that, and half of the place was bedrock locals, with a good sports book, a good food court, a buffet, all these different things. And they just don't pay attention to that.
I was blown away by the Fontainebleau. The service.
I love it.
The room, the
Beautiful.
restaurants are insane.
Yeah.
It's pricey, but it was a great time, and I thought the service was top notch. I know you're the elite of elite here in terms of who you can't play blackjack. You're too good. You've always talked about side bets. Do you have an update on side bets and the sucker bets and what's going on in Macau?
Well, the Macau thing was evidence. All right, I read this the other day. I couldn't believe it. I read it out of a report, that was put out by a authoritative, group, and. The word has always been with side bets, don't do it. Just don't do it. Whatever that side bet is, whatever you're playing, stay away from the side bets. The report said that in Macau, where Baccarat is huge, that side bets are 5% of the action, 5% of the handle, but almost 50% of the profit.
Wow.
Can you imagine
insane.
that?
No.
And I mean, that almost sounds unbelievable to me, but like I say, it came from a pretty authoritative source. But that to me, boy, there's your evidence right there. The basic strategy is if you see a side bet. Now, some of them literally can be vulnerable. If you know what you're doing, you know how to figure them out. There's, there might be a counting angle. There might be something that you can do. But if you don't know, you just don't play side bets no matter what it is, whether you're playing 3-card poker, whether you're playing blackjack, whatever you're doing, stay away from side bets. And this is great evidence. 5% of the handle, almost 50% of the profit.
That's incredible. So when's the last time you played it?
I haven't played a side bet of any sort, except for once or twice when somebody brought it up to me. For going way back, the over-under side bet in blackjack, you could count that with a different count, an over-under count that would tell you when that was really, really strong. So you would bet the minimum or whatever you had to bet on the actual bet, and then you'd bet the maximum on the side bet when it was good. And they didn't catch on to it for a long time. So those things actually happen, but they're very rare now because the mathematicians are better on the other side, on the game, creation side.
I want to thank you. Last time you came in, you gave us a gift. Advantage Players by Michael Kaplan. The time he didn't work out, he was in town. We were in Omaha. Incredible book. There's so much stuff of Heidi Fleiss, like you talked about, Grosjean, Phil Ivey. There's so many different chapters attacking different things, and even the cell phone thing with the Israel or something.
They hacked. They didn't hack into. They were blind. So their hearing was like amazing, and they could listen in. They did hack into the Army phone thing, but they could listen in and they could tell phone numbers by the beeps on the
beep
thing.
and the tone?
Beep, 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 beep. They could tell what it was.
Right.
And yeah.
The guy I want to know more about, read books of Alan Woods. Yeah. I know Munchkin mentioned him too, but he won so much money betting into the pools of horse racing in Hong Kong and the money he made.
Yeah, there were a few of those guys. There was Alan Woods. There was Bill Benter. There was, to a big degree, Jelko. There were these guys who came up playing blackjack. They did really, really well. They knew how to scale in blackjack. They built fantastic teams that went worldwide. And then they went. I remember back in 1981 when I was just coming up, and there was a gambling, they call it a gambling conference National Conference on Gambling and Risk Taking. It was at Lake Tahoe. Everyone was there. All the famous people were there. Stanford Wong, Ed Thorpe, all these people. And there were a whole bunch of blackjack seminars. And I went to all those blackjack seminars. I was just a kid, 20-some years old. And these guys went to horse racing seminars. And they came out and they built models and they said, we can beat horse racing. And then they went to Asia. And they did it where it was so big and they could really do it. Alan Woods was one of them. And they became literally billionaires doing this. And I was speaking in a room where a couple of them were once, and I told that story. I said, I went to blackjack, and they went to horse racing, and look how that turned out. I'm publishing books. These guys are living in mansions over in Macau.
Incredible. LVA_tweet on X, Las Vegas Advisor. Get all the books and get the coupon as well. Anthony Curtis, Las Vegas Advisor.
Yeah, that one we're talking about right now. Advantage players available at the website, LasVegasAdvisor.com. We'll continue with Anthony Curtis coming up next. We will discuss the big, beautiful bill coming up and what gamblers need to prepare for starting next year. Some say it changes everything. Others say, probably not going to be that big of a deal. We'll find out what Anthony thinks about it coming up next here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Good to have you on board. We continue here. LasVegasAdvisor.com is the website. Anthony Curtis is in studio. He's been doing this for many, many years. Go check out the site. Great books. The coupon book is in there as well. Always absolutely worth having, especially if you're going to be frequent visitors to Las Vegas. So the big, beautiful bill got passed last week. And in it was a subset basically explaining how gamblers were not going to be able to write off 100% of their losses. So you have to obviously file all of your wins, but you can only deduct up to like 90% of your losses. So even if you broke even throughout the year, Anthony, you're going to be a total loser overall. Dina Titus has been fighting this since last week. She introduced the Fair Bet Act earlier today. She tweeted out an hour ago. She now has bipartisan support. She's going to continue, obviously, through Congress. What are your thoughts overall on this?
It's brutal. I mean, it's a gigantic sin tax. The gambling laws were already, skewed against gamblers of all sorts. This one, but the one thing that was good is that if you were a loser over time, over a year, you didn't have to pay taxes on it. And the way this is, if everybody reported fairly, every single person would be hurt. And the guys on the higher level and the professional level, they're calling it, extinction level event. They're saying it's an extinction level event. We are going to be done. We can't do this anymore. And, I can give you an example. You want me to give you an example?
Yes, please.
Okay. So let's just take somebody who's, and I'll say this, the people that it won't affect most will be the low-level recreational gamblers because they don't report anything anyway. They don't get hand paid, so they don't report. They don't bother with it. Not that they're trying to cheat on their taxes, but, so they end up being a few hundred ahead. They don't report it. Why would they? Right? So it's not going to really affect them. It's going to affect people that reporting lets the government, the IRS, know how much money they won. Now they've got to offset those winnings with losses. Mm-hmm. So take this example, somebody who plays a lot, plays every week, several times, that sort of thing. Let's say they put 410,000 through machines, which is easily done if you're playing any reasonable amount. All right, so they win 200,000. That's some money out. Those are, their W2Gs, that's the amount they actually get back. We're talking about money in the machine, out of the machine. They win 200, they lose 210. All right, so they played $410,000 in action. They've lost $210,000 and 200 out. So they minus $10,000 for the entire year. Okay, so I lost $10,000 for the year. That's less than $1,000 a month. I have fun. I love it. Whatever. I'm square with the IRS. I'm cool. No, according to this law, they will not be able to write that 210 off. They will only be able to write off $189,000. So what's going to happen is they're going to have a $200,000 win. They're going to have a $189,000 write-off. They're going to have lost $10,000, and they're getting an $11,000 tax bill. Mm-hmm. I mean, people are going to quit. They ain't going to play. I mean, except for the down and dirtiest of them all, the ones that just got to Jones it, and they're going to do it. And it gets even worse on the high end. On the high end, now you're talking about people who are having millions of dollars of action. Okay, so you got a guy who, let's say he wins $3.2 million, he loses $3 million. So he's made $200,000. Good year, right? He's a professional gambler. He's made $200,000, but he can only deduct $2.7 million. He can't deduct $3 million. So his $200,000 win gets inflated to a $500,000 win, and that's where his tax bill goes. They can't do it. You can't do it.
No, they're going to call it quits.
Yeah, they're going to stop. Well, or they're going to go illegal. They're going to go offshore. They're going to go foreign countries. They're going to go places where they're treated more fairly.
So your buddy Frank B., professional gambler, I reached out to him last week. He couldn't come on. He's tied up. But he said that he knows people, and I'm sure you know the same group, right, that they get taxables in the millions every single year. Mm-hmm. He goes, they're going to be out hundreds of thousands of dollars now when they report. He goes, that's not feasible. There's no way you can make a living doing this.
Well, they're out of business. I mean, they're absolutely out of business. But it's worse than that, because it messes with once you take it, they're going to go, well, it's not going to hurt the smaller gamblers. They're still going to come to casinos. But you take that big money out of the ecosystem, and it screws up everything. And all of a sudden, the casinos they're going to feel it bad. I mean, I publish gambling books. I'm going to feel it. Fewer people are going to come. Fewer people are going to buy the newsletter. It's going to go throughout everything, just because somebody wanted to try to find an easy way to screw somebody with a sin tax because they didn't like it. Oh, gambling's bad. Oh, cigarettes are bad. Sex is bad. So we're going to tax all these things. Well, there's going to be a huge trickle down that's going to hurt Vegas and a lot of other places.
Think about the sports book here, where we're broadcasting from. Circuit takes as much sharp money as anybody, more than any other national book, right?
Yeah.
So what if sharp bettors realize this too, and they're like, well, this is unsustainable. Can't be betting sports anymore.
I know.
And if you would eliminate the sharp money that they take here, it would just change everything. Right? What's the overall handle per year compared to what it was before?
Yeah, because they're getting that money on both sides. Mm-hmm. I mean, people, they talk about sharp money. Okay, sharp money over time, whatever, but they're not always right. And they're going to have differences of opinion, and that's how they balance their books with big money coming in. I know it's pros versus Joes, and it's volume versus big bets and all that kind of stuff, but they can't lose that high-end stuff. What's it going to do to the contests? All right, people are going to go, well, I'm not going to do this if I'm going to enter a lot of contests. I'm not going to enter any contests anymore because it's like I'm entering for $10,000 and I'm only getting credit for $9,000. Forget it. I'm not doing it. So I think, to be honest with you, I know you said Dina Titus is trying to do something. The industry should just bowl up and let's go and swing their clout a little bit. I think that heads are going to prevail here. I think so? Clear heads will prevail. I don't think this can stand. It's too onerous.
Good.
One more thing quickly on this. Frank said it's very important to have losing bettors amongst the group.
Well, if you can pool it, if the group, he's talking about getting a group together and they pool their wins and losses, if you can get that together, kind of good luck getting that together.
I know tax people and lawyers are reaching out to the poker players with the World Series of Poker going on here. Do you want to weigh in on the controversy and what happened? As one person said, it was the biggest chip dumping, most egregious chip dumping he's ever seen.
It's always got to be something with the World Series, doesn't it?
Yes.
Last year it was using the solvers and during the main event final table. Heads-up play. This time, same thing again, heads-up play in a big tournament. And there was, all right, so you got WSOP, World Series, and you've got World Poker Tour, WPT. WPT said before the thing started, if one of our champions or whatever it was who had won this clearance wins one of 11 pre-selected events, we will give them $1 million bonus. It was a way for them to promote on the heels of the World Series. Well, wouldn't you know, and one of the really big ones, one of the guys gets down to the final. So if he wins it, he can get $1 million bonus. He makes it to heads up. But the only problem is he's down 9-1 chip count.
Correct.
And he's a pro, and the guy he's playing is a pro. So it's really tough to come back 9-1. I mean, it can be done, certainly, but it's tough to come back 9-1 against another pro. So they apparently mysteriously take a break, right? They take a break that wasn't scheduled, and they disappear, and they come back, and all of a sudden, the guy who's ahead's making a bunch of mistakes, and the guy who's behind's making every play perfectly.
Well, it was egregious. It was, raise, fold, raise,
right, exactly.
raise, fold, that's
right?
it.
And you can't really hide it when you can see your hole cards, and you can really tell what's going on.
There you go.
And obviously, they had made some kind of a deal to cut that $1 million up. So WSOP comes in and says, well, that's chip dumping or a form of collusion. So you can't do that. That's against our rules. But most of the people who are watching this going, wait a minute, who got hurt? How can you collude against how can two players collude against nobody else? They're not colluding against anybody. They're colluding against WPT, if anything. And WPT comes right out and goes, oh, we don't care, we're paying it.
Yes.
So that's the aggrieved party, and they go, we don't care. So World Series of Poker comes out and says, okay, we're going to pay the money to you guys. You're going to split up first and second, and you'll probably split up your bonus, but we're not going to give you the championship, or we're not going to give you a bracelet. Okay. If someone said to me, you can either have a World Series of Poker bracelet or $500,000, I'll take the $500K. So it's really kind of goofy, and I guess they're like the integrity of the game and all, but most of the people are looking at it going, look, deals get made all the time. Advantage play, right? The book we were just talking about.
Right.
Advantage players. This was an advantage play, and they decided to do this. I guess they could have done it without being clandestine, just saying, look, man, I'm going to lose to him, and that's the way it goes. I'm not even going to bet. Ante me off. Do what you want to do.
Daniel Negreanu was livid with what happened, and I think he, along with David Baker, blamed WBT a little bit for what happened, but Negreanu reported that even the third place finisher, was approached about a deal too.
Oh, really?
So right.
So was Negreanu wasn't against what they did, was he?
He's okay for deals, but he had some good. The other kid was broke.
Well, Negreanu is. I'll tell you what. Negreanu is a very straight. From what I know about him and have seen about him, he's a straight arrow guy.
Yeah.
He's like a by the rules guy. So if he wants to take a stand that okay, this is okay by the rules, but I'll take it a step further, going, yeah, I'm all for playing by the rules too, but it didn't hurt a single other person. So big deal. Maybe that's not a good rule. Maybe, only allowing you to write off 90% of your taxes is not a good rule. Not all rules are good.
$500 try, G-Bank First Bet and Visa. Open a G-Bank Visa signature credit card in the first 90 days. Deposit and play through $1,000 at First Bet to trigger the $500 try. $200 in cash back rewards on your G-Bank Visa signature credit card. First Bet gives you a $100 deposit match, and Visa completes it with a free subscription. $200 value through August 31st. That's the $500 try from G-Bank, First Bet, and Visa. Head there now. One-time promotion limited to customers opening a new account. Apply today. VSiN.com/GBank.
Website is LasVegasAdvisor.com. Again, the latest book that you gave us anyway was Advantage Players. It's dynamite from all walks of life.
Michael
get it
Kaplan.
today.
The author is Michael Kaplan.
There you go. Thanks, Anthony. Great stuff.
Thank you, guys.
Paul Charchian next. Get ready for a number to move in the NFL.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome in. Yeah, we're live today here on a Monday. Fun show so far. Thanks to Anthony Curtis. Previous two segments for joining us. LasVegasAdvisor.com is the website. NFL here as our buddy, a longtime friend of the show, Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian. FantasyLife.com is the website. Joins us on the Progressive Guest Line. Charch, good afternoon. How are you?
Great to talk to you guys again. It's nice. It's only we're like 3 weeks apart or 2 weeks apart from our last conversation, which was great when I was out there for the Scott Fish Bowl draft.
That's right. So football quickly approaching here. We'll have a game, the Hall of Fame game, coming up at the end of this month. So before we get into the bet that you really, really like this year, let's revisit your last appearance. And for the people who missed it, there was a certain player in the NFL that you're really high on this year in fantasy drafts, and you were taking him like as high as in the 8th round overall. Explain why you like Jordan Mason, the running back for the Vikings this year.
Yeah, so Mason, it was a trade acquisition for the Vikings. This is a team that desperately wants to run the ball more and better than they have in the past. And if you recall going into the offseason, and well, really, if you back up all the way to the end of last year, the Vikings got killed in the final regular season game when they were trying to battle the Lions for the number 1 seed, and then in the first round of the playoffs because their offensive line broke down. So the Vikings addressed it. Left guard in the first round, and that will certainly help. Donovan Jackson. Then they went center and right guard in the offseason. They got Will Fries at right guard. They got Ryan Kelly at center. So they really improved the interior of their offensive line. They're starting a first-year quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. They want to bring balance. Kevin O'Connell's typically a guy who is a top 5 to 10 team in terms of pass play percentage. That's not going to be the case this year. The Vikings are going to run a lot more. They're going to ask J.J. McCarthy to do less than they've asked some of their veteran quarterbacks like Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold. So this is going to be a much more balanced attack. The other part of this is Aaron Jones at age 30 was just okay last year. Not great. And especially near the stripe. And this is the key thing. And I'll throw this stat out to you. Again, I mentioned this last time I was on. Aaron Jones and 14 carries from inside the 5-yard line last year had negative yardage. He had negative 4 yards. And this team just couldn't get it done in the trenches. That's going to change with the improvements of the offensive line and the big body Jordan Mason, who through 3 years looks really, really good. He's got a 5.5 yard per carry average. And there's a real chance that he ends up being the Vikings lead back, and he will be the Vikings goal line back. And I think that's an absolute certainty.
He will be. You're convinced of that. Mason's going to be the guy
Jordan
at the goal line.
Will be the goal line back. And the Vikings will run at the goal line more than they ever have in the Kevin O'Connell era because they never could. They just didn't. They never had the big body guy. And so now inside the 5, this team is going to be behind these big new interior alignment. This is going to be a run first team. They're going to try to run the ball in that spot.
So what's the bet then with Jordan Mason? Other than you're taking him and here's, by the way, what I liked about your last appearance as well. You were telling us that you were targeting him like in the 8th round of drafts, and I asked you if you're getting sniped at all, and you said yes. So other people had that same thought about Jordan Mason, like he's going to be a guy that you're going to want to take high this year. So what do you want to do with touchdowns this year with Jordan Mason?
I think Jordan Mason's sitting on double-digit touchdowns at a minimum, and there's a pathway for Jordan Mason to have the most rushing touchdowns in the league, which I know sounds absurd. Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. Why would Jordan Mason even be in this conversation? But let's look at the last 3 years rushing touchdown leaders. So last season, James Cook went from 2 rushing touchdowns the year before to 16 last year and 18 total. So guys will emerge kind of seemingly out of nowhere on good offenses. That can end up happening. The year before that, the NFL's lead rusher was Raheem Mostert for the Dolphins. People don't even remember that. The year before that, your lead rusher was the Lions' Jamal Williams. I mean, these weird, oddball, out of nowhere guys. If you can find a touchdown back on a good offense, you've got a pathway to a freakish number of touchdowns. Jordan Mason there's a pathway. I'm not saying it's likely. There's a pathway for Jordan Mason to come in at 15, 16 touchdowns and end up leading the NFL.
Well, I got news for you. He's available in that market.
Good timing.
200 to 1, 300 to 1 is out there. Seems like a pretty decent number to bet on, huh?
Yes.
That is. I mean, there's 32 NFL teams. The Vikings are a top 10 offense unless McCarthy completely collapses. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at the lead back and the goal line back for a top 10 offense in Jordan Mason. People have just completely, this is a total misunderstanding, not just by the fantasy community, but also the betting community. There's like I said, 200 to 1, 300 to 1. I think the real odds on Jordan Mason leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns is more like 30 to 1. 30. I mean, I think, the overlay here is bonkers in my mind.
How about this? Also found this one too. I think you're really going to like it. 10 plus touchdowns this year from him is 12 to 1.
Cool.
Oh, perfect. Love that. I think it will take injury for him. It'll take injury for him not to get to 10 touchdowns, in my opinion. And, it's always a factor with every running back, but also because it's going to be a split time between Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason, Mason probably stays healthy for much of the season. So, I mean, even that risk gets mitigated because he's not going to be a 300 carry guy, but he will be the goal line guy. So, yeah, I like that angle too. 12 to 1 for double-digit touchdowns. Jordan Mason, let's hit that.
Great breakdown. And the one we discussed last time you were on was 1,000 yards rushing, which is also available. This is very popular with professional bettors. They're pounding the Miami Dolphins win total under. Mitch brought up, how about McDaniel, first coach fired? You're on that as well. How bad could this be for the Miami Dolphins? You have the floor.
I really, I was already skeptical. That trade that they made about a week ago really cemented it. Here you've got Jonnu Smith, this freakish athlete who emerges into 1,000-yard receiver and tight end for your team, despite the presence of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and you just trade him away. Jalen Ramsey's still playing good ball. Granted, I mean, there are other issues with Ramsey, but still playing good ball and very important for your defense. Trade him away. And Minka Fitzpatrick's good. I'm not suggesting he's not, but that's a weird trade, and it sends a strange signal to your team. You saw what Raheem Mostert tweeted the next day. He's like, this is what the Dolphins do to their best players. This thing can unravel a lot of different ways. A bottom 5 offensive line last year that lost Taron Armstead, their starting left tackle. They need Patrick Paul to step up right now, and we don't know if he's going to do that or not. They put in they got a rookie second rounder at right guard that's got to step up. This offensive line could be bad. Tyreek Hill fell off the table last year. What if that's legit and that's just who he is right now? Jalen Waddle has not proven himself to be a number one. And then, of course, you're rolling the dice every game with Tua. And if anything were to happen to Tua, there's a scenario here where the Dolphins are really bad and it happens fast. Everything unravels quickly. And we could see Mike McDaniels, the first coach out. We could see this team drafting at the very top of the draft, pick 1, pick 2, pick 3. There's a better pathway for Miami to be really, really bad than I think most people realize.
Yeah, here's the thing. I've heard nothing but under talk with the Dolphins this year, and I completely get it. And I've tried to dig in myself and look at the schedule and overall roster.
Yeah.
Are we missing something here? Because it seems so obvious. Is there a path where they could prove everybody wrong and win 9 or 10 games and the offense is fine? Because at this point, it seems so unlikely.
Yeah. Well, your path is Tua plays the whole season.
Okay.
Darren Waller, is actually, able to shake off the dust of a year of retirement, and he's still good. Tyreek Hill, they wrench out one last final good season out of Tyreek Hill. I mean, those things are not impossible. I don't think any of them are very, very likely to happen, and the combination of them, this is also, a defense that is really middle of the road, and they played good pass defense last year, but again, Jalen Ramsey out, teams are going to be able to run on this Miami defense again. So I don't know. I mean, yes, and Devon Achane, by the way, we should mention that too, because this is a big part of it. Achane, at this time last year, we were like, oh, Achane, all these big plays, and he's, he can be really, really good. Well, okay, that's all true, but also Achane has the history of injury. And if he goes down, there's not a lot behind him. Jalen Wright behind him. So there's just there's so many pathways for it to go wrong in Miami. Yes, if everything hits, they'll cruise over 7.5 wins. But boy, I think there's just too many derailers here for this Miami team.
25-1 at DraftKings, fewest wins, Miami Dolphins.
25-1. All right.
Good job, Paul.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Hey, look, 300-1, unlikely to hit. However, the analysis and where your head's at, I absolutely love it. Thank you for popping on today, Charch. We appreciate that.
Yeah, a lot of fun catching up, guys. Bye-bye.
Yep, there you go. Paul Charchian. Follow him on X at Paul Charchian, fantasylife.com. He was on the progressive guest line. Long shots are difficult to cash, Pauly. But again, just for him to think about that, for him to be...
Same book, by the way?
DK's 200. BetMGM was 300 yesterday.
No, where's 10 touchdowns?
BetMGM and also Bet365, from what I understand.
Oh, very good.
Yep. Where you can find 12-1 on 10+ touchdowns this year. Yeah. So, but if he's going to be the goal line...
Great case. Funny things happen.
Sure.
We'll go back to Williams and Mostert. And, yeah, dynamite.
Up next, there was an NBA trade today. And a betting takeaway is that you can draw a line through betting this team if you hadn't already done so. That's next here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Thanks to Paul Charchian for coming on, making a great case for Jordan Mason, Vikings running back, to have a great year this year. He is still as high as 300-1 right now to lead the league in rushing touchdowns.
Good job. Thanks to Sam, by the way, too. I retweeted it. In 2017, his youngest son got caught in a ball machine. Where you go in, and I don't know how he got in there. It was at his birthday party. The mom in charge got him out before they called the fire department.
Okay, so I
can't believe I retweeted. There's the picture right there. The kid's in the case, jumping in like we showed earlier where the kid got in the claw machine.
I'm legitimately blown away that I thought maybe we would know like one person or have like one person here listening to the show or watching the show today where this has happened. This seems like it would be so rare.
Sure.
We've had at least five people respond to say either happened to me or happened to, somebody who I know, happened to my daughter, whatever. 5 people minimum have already said this today.
Insanity.
In the claw machine, pizza place, arcade, wherever it is.
Yeah. Here's our buddy who owns a restaurant. We showed it earlier. The kid got caught. He walked contorting his body and got in that. Yeah, that's what the size where he gets in. It's the size of someone's hand. A human being got in there. Squeezed in there and got it. And then they couldn't find him. They didn't even realize initially because he fogged it up when he was in there. You couldn't see. And then they call the fire department. They got to break the glass, and they got the kid out.
Think about
how you get in there.
Well, and the one person said the kid realized when he was stuck that he could actually come back out because he was so flexible. So he came right back out exactly how he came back in. The kid realized that.
Yeah.
But half the time, these kids are going to be so small. You're going to be, hey, get away from the glass. They're going to be panicking like, what do I do? Don't yell at me. Wow. A couple of other things I realized when I was looking. BetMGM offers a couple of bets, Paul, I want to run by before we get to this NBA trade. They're offering Travis Hunter to win Offensive Rookie of the Year or Defensive Rookie of the Year at plus 280. Forget both. That's available at 80-1. Or is plus 280. Yep. There's also this. What is your gut reaction when I tell you the longest field goal made for the entire season in the NFL is 64.5 yards and the under is minus 115? How many people can get to that number?
Aubrey can do it in his sleep.
But is there anybody else other than him? Tucker's not in the league right now, right?
There was. Who was the other? There was another guy who was making long ones routinely. I forget who it was.
But everybody was making 50-yarders last year.
Yeah.
But so they're going to have to first of all be in position to do this, right? Mike McCarthy, I think, wanted to do it, but he's no longer the head coach in Dallas. Aubrey's going to have to be in position to kick a 65-plus yard field goal this year.
He made a 65 against Baltimore. Oh, man.
I think you got to bet the under on principle.
Yeah.
And then here's what you could do. Could anybody find the longest field goal made by Aubrey the entire year? Bet him over and bet this prop under.
Yeah. Sly made one, and Bass tried a bomb, too. Sly was from 63.
All right.
That's what Big Michael tried it with Aubrey, and Bass hit from 61. But Mike doesn't care.
Well, didn't care.
Aubrey's got that leg, and he can knock him down. Good prop, though. Interesting.
Now, how about this? Gut reaction again. Total number of 200-yard receiving games in the entire league this year.
Good one.
2.5.
2.5?
Over is plus 115.
Okay. Rushing, same number?
1.5.
Okay.
Over is minus 130.
Good.
We'll do this before the season starts.
Yeah.
But
okay, go ahead.
I was going to say the history of receivers going over 200 yards recent years.
Yeah.
My gut would say it happened, but clearly they're not going to make a bad number on this. So.
And then Will Hill always puts up, a quarterback throw for 500 yards, and they also have up, there'll be a tie. And one tie is minus 220.
Wow.
And they also have number of games to go to overtime the entire season.
Okay.
That's listed listed up there as well. That's good. What'd you think of the trade today? The Clippers, Jazz, and Heat made a trade. Norman Powell to Miami.
Yeah.
John Collins to the Clippers. Kevin Love, Slow-Mo, Kyle Anderson to Utah. Powell, 32, coming off a great season. His best where he averaged 22 a game, all-star candidate. They move him. They weren't going to re-sign him to a long-term deal. Collins, 27, who makes $26 million a year.
That I never would have guessed.
That horrible contract comes to an end after this next season. He averaged 19 and 8 in Utah. And I know there's talk about do they make Riley step down? Riley has to report to Arison's son. Does he want to do that? I would think they would want to rebuild and blow it up. Do they just run it back? You're going to give Hero $50 million a year, maybe?
Well,
Bam. I mean, this would be a big mistake. But
they clearly improved today. Bringing in Norman Powell to go with Hero and
player,
Bam Adebayo. Yeah, he's a hell of a player.
Yeah.
And
good trade from Miami's standpoint, yeah. And that's
totally agree.
I hate it for the Clippers.
Can't stand it. And that's the team I was talking about before the break. If you didn't already draw a line through them for next year to win anything, do it now. I think it's a terrible trade for the Clippers. They're doing this for future years.
Yeah. Harden got 2 for 81. Lopez got 2 for 18. Kawhi has 2 years left on his deal. And now they need another shooting guard and a point guard.
Well, did you see the talk? Is that
Chris Paul?
Well, I saw that, but also hello Bradley Beal.
Man,
which would make me dislike the team even more, I think.
Oh, boy. I don't like that at all.
Oh, that would be, oh, God. No, thank you.
Okay. Interesting.
Pauly was their best player for long stretches last year.
Yep.
Or at least most consistent.
They missed it. The whole world liked them in the first round against Denver. Whole world. And they won Game 3 by, 30 points? We watched it out at the pool, Stadium Swim.
Yeah.
And how they lost that series. It's a bad job by the Clippers.
Totally agree.
And I'm with you that this hurts them big time.
Well, so, because, like you said, Kawhi's got 2 years left. Harden has 2 years left. And then Collins is expiring after this year. They weren't going to, pay Powell to be on the team beyond the season as well. So it feels to me like what are they going to do in 2027 when Kawhi's going to be 2 years older and James Harden, who is, pretty much already
never
shot.
Count on him. Can never count on him.
Totally Mr. Unreliable.
Yep. Playoff time. Yep. Absolutely.
Mm.
Yep. Is the bet to make in the West the Timberwolves still? With all the Denver love and Houston love? I mean, they made the conference finals the last 2 years if you can find them at a big price. They lost Walker, but still they have a hell of a team.
I would say that as of right now, they are clearly in the top 4 of the Western Conference. Like, clearly. I mean, there is a tier below them that I think is quite obvious.
Better than what if Golden State gets Horford? Do anything for you?
Boy, oh boy. Man, they're going to be old.
I think Golden State could have won that series. Would have won that series if Curry doesn't get hurt.
Well, that I don't disagree with.
Oh, yep.
No, that would have been completely different, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, I think nobody's talking about that team, for example, the Timberwolves. Now, it depends on how much stock, like, is Anthony Edwards going to turn into the guy come playoff time that's going to be Mr. Reliable as we're going the other way with Harden? Is he going to go up there and step up and be like the best player on the court for a long time? Or is he too mentally weak and he just takes too many spots off? Because we've seen that happen before to that guy.
Yeah.
So
Minnesota, DraftKings 10-1 to win the West. Golden State 12-1. And it worked out. It sounds like they talked Valanciunas into staying a year.
Yeah.
So they will get Valanciunas, and that trade will happen. Yeah. Some good moves at Denver.
That's really big. There is a path here where we're talking about making a case for all these other teams like in the West, just like we did for the East, right? And then, hey, lo and behold, the Cavaliers are the best team, or the Knicks come out of the East next year. I would say the same thing about the West, right? Maybe the Thunder and the Nuggets are just like clearly better than everybody else next year, or the Rockets are right behind them. And then you were sitting there, bringing up 8 other teams, and no bueno.
Go all in this summer. Circle Las Vegas, the ultimate getaway package. We meet so many listeners who do this, and they love it. Irv did it. The other guy from St. Cloud, Minnesota, I met. Everyone grabbing the all-in package. It's $400. Here's what you get. 2-night stay at Circa, $100 dining credit, $100 beverage credit. Our friend from Okinawa did it, the Marine Corps. Your very own day bed at Stadium Swim where the party never stops. Limited time offer through September 4th. Don't miss out. Lock in your all-in summer package now. CircleLasVegas.com. 2-night stay, $100 dining, $100 beverage credit, and the day bed at Stadium Swim. Go all in now. CircleLasVegas.com.
All right, we're getting feedback right now that, I figured this was going to happen. People are trying to get down on Jordan Mason, and they're limited to like $2.50.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
On an NFL future bet?
Of course.
Oh, come on. Here we go.
Just again, post how much you're willing to take.
Sent to the traders. Traders respond. We can go $2.50.
Absolutely. We can take $2.50 on it, but we'll keep it at 300-1 and dupe people into thinking they can actually get a bet on it. Weekend betting takeaways are up next.
Yeah.
A lot on the WNBA, Major League Baseball, and I got to bring this up about the NL Cy Young here on Follow the Money.